Welcome, everybody, to the Next Right Step, where we bring you stories, voices, and perspectives right here in Pacifica. I'm your co-host, Nano, and to my left of me, I have our humble host, Sarah
Silbert Hinawi.
Hinawi. Somebody's nervous. Anyways, we're out here. We're hanging out in Pacifica, and we're really just enjoying the morning. I want to thank McKee, our engineer, behind the scenes man. So today we're sitting down with someone who's at the heart of our community and a very, very great personality. We have CJ right here, everybody. Woo. Go ahead and introduce yourself, CJ.
I'm CJ.
There you go. Where's the other? So, we'll just jump right into it. How you guys doing today?
I'm doing good. Better after some coffee.
Yes.
It's exciting to all be here together. How are you doing, CJ?
I'm well, thank you very much.
Good. Should I just explain maybe the name?
Yeah, let's
where that comes from.
Absolutely.
And that'll be a good segue into how we get started, because the next right step is really all about just sort of feeling into the moment you're in and finding the next thing you can do that would be best for yourself and everyone around you. That's the only reason we're here. We're here to contribute. Every step we take is one toward a better future, hopefully. And the best way to do that is step by step. And for me, my next step recently was moving out to Pacifica, because it just seemed like a place with so much great personality and nature and authenticity and potential. And I'm loving it out here.
Absolutely.
And I landed one of my first steps in Pacifica was going to Winters, because I'm a big, that's where the heart of community is, in the music centers. And it's been a really amazing part of me getting settled here over the past 6 months. So psyched to learn about finding our footing in this crazy world from you, CJ. And like how you do that in this community, what you see going on. Anyway.
And that's a cool thing, man. Like you're all the way out from the East Coast, just got here, kind of just getting grounded, and here we are doing a podcast with the odor of winters. And just a segue into that, CJ. Obviously, you've been here a long time. Or born and raised?
No, I've been here almost 13 years now.
Okay,
yeah.
13 years, and just off the top, like what kind of keeps you motivated to keep the doors open and the music playing out there in Winters?
It is the music.
Wow.
Yeah, I've always been a music guy, a music goer. Music is my life. I've worked in service industry my whole life, and beyond that, I've always gone to shows. Always been into music. I had musicians in my family, and I grew up listening to music, everything from old time to R&B to classic to rock, and the cool uncles with the rock side of things, and we just always had music in our household. So it's always been a motivating and big part of my life. And so that's really, at the end of the day, the thing that continues to keep me motivated, because it's something that sparks my particular interest. It keeps me entertained, if you will.
Sure.
And so the different styles and the different music and the community surrounding all of that continues to keep me to want to do it,
Sure.
There's a lot that goes into it, and when you're at the show and you see something come together that you couldn't really have planned for. I mean, obviously, did plan to have a a night and evening bill, and you've had to coordinate in so many ways to get these particular bands from other places together on the same night and in the same time frame. But it's almost as if it's unplanned because not all the details are there. Yeah. And so it's organic in that way, and it continues to keep it interesting. So the bands are meeting each other for the first time. Sure. They're coming from different parts of the country or different parts of the state. Sure. They all have different and, different styles and different types of music. And, when you're in that room and that's happening before the music even starts, there's an energy. And that energy is really the most important thing. It translates to the, to everyone, to the staff directly, which then translates to the customers. And there's a vibe in the room that people are enjoying themselves. They're interested in being there. It's not a thing that they have to do. Yes. It is, but it's not. It's as if they are wanting to be a part of whatever it is that's happening, and it's building in that moment, and everyone is creating this vibe that is attractive to all of us. For sure. And that's the real deal right there. And that's something that when I'm tired and frustrated and overworked and overwhelmed and I don't particularly want to go back to work, but I do. And then that vibe hits me as soon as I walk in and someone introduces themselves and says, CJ, thank you so much. Wow. We've heard about you from elsewhere. Our friends in this band said that this was the best show on tour, and thank you so much for putting all this together. It's like all of that just kind of melts away, and I can enjoy the room with everyone else. Yeah. It kind of takes me out of my own stressed head. So yeah, to answer your question, that's the motivator right there.
Absolutely.
It's a hugely creative act, the whole thing. I mean, pulling it together and letting it come together in the way that it does.
Yeah.
And it provides a space, there's the musicians, and then there's the audience that is contributing their energy and spirit to that positivity in the room also. And then all the feelings. I mean, it kind of a live music show that does what it's supposed to and kind of transports people and connects them and everything has exponential positive impact, Yeah. Just sends positive impact back out into the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm obviously, I second that. I mean, I went to Winters, I would say 5-6 years ago. This guy right here behind the scenes, Ian, my first time was with him and Justin, and this one we had our little group, and we're like, let's go out, let's go here. We didn't, a longboard right down the street, shout out longboard. But we just decided to go to another spot, and I'd never been there. My first time there. And it was just, like you said, the vibe. I was like, wow, like, okay, this, what I mean? You hear stuff, and people talk, but you got to go see it for yourself. And once I got there, I knew that this was like a place that I'd be coming back to, especially with the music. The live music is what really sold me. So, to attribute to that. And I mean, like you said, planned but not planned. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I be here at 9 a.m. I don't know the rest. I got coffee and donuts. I could do that part. So that's just an amazing element.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sarah.
Well, I was just gonna say, I'm curious how you landed in Pacifica. Like what your Pacifica story is.
So I was in San Diego for 14 years, working in the industry, of course. And my ex-wife and I were young and dumb and living our lives and figuring it all out. We got pregnant. And so we decided to try to make a change that would, get us closer to responsibility and parenthood. So we wanted to try to see if we could start a business in the business that we'd already had of, all of our experience. And so we were looking for a liquor license in the Bay Area. Because Corinne, my business partner, my ex-wife, Shout out to Corinne. She's, without her, there would be no Winters as you know it now. Her and I have been hard at it for a long time. We'll be celebrating 13 years next year at the bar, yeah. But, yeah, she had family throughout the Bay. Her brother's in East Bay and Hayward, and she grew up in Sonora, only a couple of hours away, and she had ties throughout the Bay and beyond. And my family's all over the country, so it just made sense to get closer to family and try to, do something here in the Bay. So that was the plan. And so I had, Uncle Duck, that's Corinne's brother, on the lookout with, his connections here in the Bay and some realtors and stuff. And so, I would get a link here and there and this and that. And we were, searching through all kinds of venues to figure out, what was available in 2012 as far as, a liquor license.
So wait, so you knew you wanted to come and start a venue, some kind of music experiential
Yeah,
place.
It's something I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to have...
Yeah, and at that moment, what made you guys decide that this was the time to make that move?
It was that. It was the fact that we needed
to get going.
Yeah, we needed to make a change in our lives
Mm-hmm.
and move towards the future, which, a couple of young partiers, we would barely think through the next week type of thing. So here we are becoming parents, and we wanted to do what we do, but build something and not just be an employee.
Nice. Sorry.
We were just trying to build a future. So we were looking for a liquor license, and it's not that easy. And there's so many different types of liquor licenses, but that was what we wanted because we wanted a spot. Mm-hmm. And so we were looking from everything from a corner store with the on-premise license so that you could have open container on property and bands, whatever, to a pizza shop, something basic, beer and wine, whatever, anything that was interesting in a number of ways that could be worked with so that we could have a spot.
Right, get it.
So I get this link to a Craigslist ad.
Oh, wow.
And it says bar for sale.
From where? Where did you get this link?
My Uncle Duck.
Shout out Uncle Duck, man.
He's sending me all kinds of cool shit. And I'm looking on my end. We got realtors in San Diego looking at properties that come up, for a few months kind of thing, all this stuff. And there's a lot of stuff. And it's, some stuff is kind of interesting, but this was beyond interesting. It was just like, it hit me.
Yeah.
It's this Craigslist ad with this basic statement, and it was like a photocopy of a bad picture of the facade, and it just barely said, you could barely see it says Winters. And it just is like
getting goosebumps.
Bar for sale. And I'm like, what does this even mean? Winters? Like, I don't understand what's happening. Pacifica, never heard of it. Winters, no idea. I thought that was a city in the middle of nowhere. Like, what does this mean? And, it was so intriguing that we had, the motivation to get in contact with everyone involved. Mm-hmm. So our realtor, we have bar customers in San Diego at our little local spot. Yeah. Those are our realtors, are our day customers, right? So they're getting a hold of the realtor here in Pacifica. They set up a meeting on a Friday with the owner and the realtor. I drive my Subaru up with my surfboard on the roof and my Schwinn on the back on a Monday. Wow. And I show up unannounced, and I spend Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in and out of Pacifica, every single liquor license, every bar, every restaurant. Yeah. Twice a day at Winters, just for one beer, just to hang out for an hour plus and see what's going on. Yeah. I was in and out of there all week. So, unannounced is in people asking me like, who the hell are you? Which is a small town thing. And I did get a lot of that, but it was more like, my wife and I are looking to relocate. We may have a job in the Bay. Yeah. We're trying to figure out, where to live and what to do. And so we're just kind of checking out the coast because we're coastal people. Right. And so that wasn't far from the truth. I just wasn't letting on what was happening. So come Friday morning, I show up to the meeting with the owners and the realtor, and the owner is like, "You're the guy? Get the fuck out of here." It's like everybody is up in arms about the new guy from San Diego who's been in here all week long.
Oh, my God.
Like wondering, why is this guy here? Who is he? Just moving in? You know, what's happening? You know, because I'm kind of like, I'm one of those kind of people, like I'm, you know, as my grandmother would say, I stick out like a turd in a punch bowl. You know, so, you know, like I don't go unnoticed when I'm in the bar twice a day for 4 days in a row. They're like, who the fuck is this guy?
Right.
So the owner's like, oh my God, I've had 10 people ask me about who you are and do I know anything?
Yeah.
You know, so we're at the meeting. I got my shorts and a t-shirt, you know, and he's like, I've had every suit, you know, show up for this shit. I've had, you know, restaurant groups from San Francisco with big money trying to buy the bar. If this works out, this is exactly what I've wanted for this. Because he grew up here and he was given the bar at, you know, for a period of his life for a decade. And he kind of wanted to move on. Chad Healy is his name. Shout out to Chad Healy. Without Chad, I wouldn't be here. So it was our connection. You know, he had a number of offers and he wanted it to be a guy like himself, so to speak, to take over this amazing bar that's been in this town forever.
Yeah.
Forever.
Yeah. So that's how that happened.
And so that, and I just want to keep on that where, so Chad gets you the bar. Let's talk about the startup. Like, how was that? Was it a big mess or was it a good transition? Like,
it was rough. I'm not going to lie. You know, everyone knows it. It's a story that I'm still trying to soften,
right?
So to speak. It was a heavy red and white bar.
Right.
It's known for biker clubs. It's known to be associated with the Hells Angels. They had control of that bar, and it was an unannounced club for nearly a decade, late 80s into the 90s. And so that's a reputation that's not easy to change.
Right.
People still, I'll be, you know, I'm a showgoer. I support the scene. I'm all over the Bay all the time.
Yeah.
I overhear people saying, you know, things about all of the stuff. And occasionally someone will be talking about Winters right next to me, which I love.
Yes.
And I also have bartender's ears too. I can hear someone talking about it across the room and I'll get closer so I can really hear what's going on. You know, and I'll hear someone go, oh my God, you wouldn't go to Winters, would you? Did you know that my grandmother, you know, blah, blah, blah. You know, it's a story that it's like as old as time. Like someone got their ass handed to them at Winters. And so that's the story that everyone wants to remember. And, you know, the reason I am here is because they did have a really tough period. That was a tough period for bars anywho. You know, the late aughts into the tens was a rough time in service. And so they had to sell the liquor license. They were forced out. Basically, they had to give up. So, you know, that's how I got to be here. So I'm thankful for that rough, harsh period. Yes. But yeah, it was hard to answer your question. It was tough, man. There was a lot of problematic people hanging out at the bar. There was a lot of negative energy. There was a lot of things that would send the normal person, the average customer, I shouldn't ever use the word normal, would send the average person maybe not even in. Like they may walk in and go, I don't think I can be in here, and walk out. Yeah. You know? Even the vibe that I got, you know, knowing who I am and the new guy and the boisterous drinker, you know, like these guys were giving me some heavy who the fuck are you vibes. Yeah. And so it's like, you know, third generation Pacifica, that kind of stuff, you know, it's like this weird small town entitlement stuff. There was all of that mixed in with some criminals and some fucking heavy folks,
a movie.
Man.
It was really a movie.
There was a lot of shit happening, man. And so women were not going in the bar by themselves. You know, average, regular customer type people were uncomfortable with the reputation, and so they were afraid to go there. So I mean, it took some doing, man. We dropped most of the staff and most of the clientele in the first year. You know, we had to basically ask people to move along.
Mm.
Interesting. Can I just jump in with a thought and a couple questions?
Sure.
What I mean, I knew just recently I heard something about the biker background, but I had no idea. But I did have this, there is this kind of authenticity and like grittiness that's just present, you know, which I guess
agree.
you know.
Yeah.
And so we don't know anything about each other really, but I ran a music venue outside of New York City for 14 years called Purple that was in a renovated Catholic church.
Oh, cool.
that people, you know, we'd have people come in who are like, I was christened here, or like, you know, my dad's memorial. And it,
awesome.
so, and there's all this heavy stuff that comes with that. There's a cross on the top of the building, and there's like, you know, in a progressive community that, you know, whatever. But then there are all these gifts that come from that heritage too. And so I guess I'm curious, like, are there some legacies from that community that you feel like are really essential to what Winters is and the kind of space it provides?
Yeah, wholeheartedly. You hit the nail on the head. That's also, you know, been a big part of why we've been successful, is because there's this idea, this kind of hearty, gritty idea that still remains, and it keeps like a manner of safety almost. We've had,
Ooh,
a knock on.
that.
Yeah. So we have this weird like heaviness that people think that they're not allowed to misbehave, which you know, Nano can love in a security you know, sense. It's like a built-in, you're not, you know, don't do that kind of thing, and it's like keeps people from fucking up.
Culture.
And it's so cool because you know, we've not had equipment go. We've had thousands of shows with many, many, many thousands of bands, and we've never had one single piece of equipment go missing. Never. And everyone's terrified of playing in San Francisco because their shit gets stolen. They have to keep someone in the van. Otherwise, they'll break the glass and take the gear, waiting, watching. That does not happen in Pacifica. It does not happen at Winters. We've never had a car stolen. We've never, you know, we've never had anything taken. So there's that, which is so cool. And it kind of keeps it also kind of keeps the chuckleheads at bay. It's like people that we don't really want in there anyway. They're afraid that they might get themselves into trouble with that kind of crowd, even though that crowd's not particularly there a lot anymore. I mean, we do have bike clubs roll through, and shit, it's a roadhouse. Of course, they're going to come in for a Miller Lite and hop on their bike and go to, you know, head down south of the tunnel, you know, and have a wonderful day on their motorcycles. I mean, that's a beautiful thing. And I've never had one of those guys create any kind of issues. And when I have, the only heavy times I've ever had, we already have an in with the clubs. And so one phone call and those guys show up and wonder, you know, hey, what are you guys doing here? And it kind of, you know, fixes itself.
Yeah, I love that you said safety. And it's interesting you're talking about like the band's safety and the equipment safety and kind of like security safety. But, you know, I come from like mental health education world, and I'm like, that safety lets some people have a good time there who might not have a good time there. Like for me I've sometimes been there, I'm the only woman in the whole place. And I feel like I can go there and sit and write in my notebook and do my thing and leave, and I feel safe too, you know? So it's interesting what that does for the environment overall, though.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
if
thank you very much.
Yeah.
That's very important to us.
Yeah.
You know, I had a little baby boy, who wasn't even a year old when we got here.
Yeah.
And a wife who worked with me.
Yeah.
You know, like we were a family trying to like
make a family business.
Make a family business, clean up a pretty rough and tumble spot.
Yeah.
And so that wasn't easy. And we wanted everyone to, you know, to kind of be where we were mentally. Like we like to have a good time. We like to have, you know, a rock and roll situation. That's what we are.
Mm-hmm.
However, we don't want to hurt other people.
Yeah.
It's all about embracing the rock and roll, not, you know, shitting on someone else's plate.
Yeah.
You know, we don't want other people to you know, feel compromised or uncomfortable in any way, shape, or form. And so that's kind of a line we drew from day one. We told our staff, you know, the customer is always wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You don't allow people
I love that.
to undermine your authority. You don't allow people to speak to you as if you're lesser. We don't do that here.
Yeah.
We don't allow that kind of behavior. You know, that is the kind of behavior that will take the energy away from the room. Those kind of people are trying to control the room when it's not their room to control. You are the staff. You are the number one. You are the authority. Yeah. When someone mistreats you, you tell them right away, shut them down. If they don't want to, you know, comply, we call the police. Yeah. And don't be afraid to call the police. Please call the police. Yeah. And on that note, it wasn't easy to get the police to understand that the new regime was going to be responsible. Right. Because it's a rock and roll fucking roadhouse. Like anything can happen. And so the new guy could be worse than the old guy, so to speak. And so the police were there every single night for basically the first year. And that was okay. They were trying to feel us out and see what the hell we were going to do. And they've worked with us through that kind of rough transition, and they've congratulated us from year 2 on, you know, how much we have controlled the bad element and how much we, you know, basically don't put up with too much, and they love our spot. And so we've worked with Pacifica Police Department since the beginning. I mean, obviously it wasn't easy to get on their good side, but they know that we run a tight ship. We don't, you know, we don't allow problematic and bad people to infiltrate. We don't. That's the last thing we want. And that's goes back to the safety thing. It's like we want people to feel comfortable and just enjoy themselves, which is what that kind of space is meant for.
Right. You're really honoring the community.
Yeah.
If I could interject for a second. I grew up here like a mile away from Winters, you know, right up the street. And
here we go.
I'd never stepped foot in there until like, I'm 32. I didn't step foot in there until I was like 28, maybe. Never even considered going in there. You know, the day I turned 21, I was at Longboard and I was like bouncing around other places, but I was like, that's not a place to go, you know, for whatever reason.
Right.
I remember like this old bum that used to be in Pacifica. You might remember him. He was like dude with a red hat who was like the Pacifica bum. He had like the light blue, like super drunk guy eyes. I don't know if this was may have been before your time. I just remember from my childhood. He was there like every day standing out front, and he was just like the drunk of the town. And so that was like the
Otis.
That was like what was, you know what I'm talking about?
No, but that's the drunk from Otis is the drunk from
Yeah, we called him Donut Bob.
Goddamn.
Me and my like 4th grade friends. But yeah, we were just like, that was like the view of it since a kid. And I was like, this is just like not a good place to go. And then I think like 2020 was like when I actually started going in there. And yeah, now I don't go really anywhere else in town. So I think you've definitely rehabbed the view of it a bit, you know. And same thing with my friend Justin, who lives right down the street. And he's the same age as me. And he's like, I never even considered going in there. Now he's there. I'm sure you see him. He's there multiple times a week.
Shout out Spit.
Yeah. Thank you so much, man. That says it all right there. And that is another motivating factor. You know, after the first year or two, when we really did start to make some headway. We started to gain some momentum and have decent sales, at least decent enough to where we could see a possible future. I had so many locals come in and tell me the story that you just told me, in whatever, context. They would come in and say, listen, my grandfather bartended here in 1967 or whatever, and I haven't been here in 8 years because I was afraid and I didn't want to come here. You have changed this place and we appreciate you for doing that. And that was just one of those things where I knew we were doing the right thing. And people are coming to tell me that story where they wanted to be at Winters, but they couldn't, because it was too much. And so, I really did see it in the beginning. Like I said, I didn't introduce myself, and I spent a week there, and I saw some pretty crazy shit. And I've been in a lot of dive bars, and I was fearful that I wouldn't be able to change that vibe for good reason. But, somehow we did, and the community has embraced us since the very beginning.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I'm just so grateful that, that's the story that will hopefully eventually kind of, push the you don't want to go to Winters thing away.
One funny thing about it too is that despite having a very, not the fanciest sound system or anything, I mean, you don't even have you have the mixer glued to the wall on the stage, and the bands have to mix themselves and shit.
DIY.
And it's kind of it's a bit of a sketchy looking system, but it seems to sound all right. But then you have Longboard across the street here with $1 million venue, and somehow people seem to respect Winters more as a music venue than Longboard or these other places in Pacifica.
It's curation. I was going to say it has to do with the programming.
I was going to say something, but I don't want to talk shit, It's you're absolutely right. It's about
it's
the
about
curation.
The design of the space, all the stuff you've been talking about, all the thought and intention. And I don't know how we feel about this. I'll look to the room for a vote, but I had a question that might expand our lens a little bit, if that's okay. And just
I love the Longboard, by the way. I'm all about
I love longboards too.
Bars in general. And I went, it was, real quick, it was a feud created by the people who owned those bars, and it was kind of like Winters versus Longboard when I got to town.
Interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. And so I went over there and introduced myself with Corinne, and we said, we're not interested in continuing on any kind of feud that exists because it's none of our business, one, and two, I need a case of tequila. When I need a case of tequila, I'm going to come over here and be like, hey, dude, I'm out of tequila. Hook it up, and I'd love to, come get some oxygen tank, for the draft system. We're on the same team. These people are drinkers. I'm a drinker. You're a drinker. We're all in the same club. Let's not feud.
Yeah.
There's enough to go around.
It's actually such a perfect segue because, there's a lot of what we're talking about that has a lot of resonance for Pacifica overall, sort of in this moment. I mean, part of why I found Pacifica such an intriguing place is it's so grounded and present in nature. And the people who live here, a lot of them have come here because they want to be in the world. They want to be out in nature. They want to be out doing stuff. They want to be out at places experiencing music, And so there's a real presence, but at the same time, it's literally being weathered away, and people have fought for so long to not have any development. And so there's not been any development. This is my observation coming totally from the outside. But at the same time, what's happening is it's being weathered and we're not building something new, that would preserve the Pacifica that everybody loves. And so there are these, and I gather it has to do with there's some old school voices who just don't want any development or any changes because it's so beautiful the way it is. And then there are people who want to, and there's this kind of like duality going on. And I think there's some political duality in town. And
Absolutely.
despite the fact, despite the fact that it is such a loving, engaged, and kind of safe community in a way. And so just curious, this is all me coming in with a sociologist's lens, and so I'm curious, as longtime participants in the community, like how do we help support the resilience in Pacifica? Like, how do we pull out those pieces of the culture that are gonna keep it strong and beautiful based on your knowledge?
Yeah, I mean,
Building.
you pretty much hit the nail on the head. There's a lot of factors. There's a lot at stake. I think the first thing that comes to mind is the Pacifica Pier.
Yes.
And so that was built, oddly enough, I think even completed the year I was born, 1971. And so it was late 60s. It was open in, I think, 71. I think the plaque says 71. Anyway, I could be wrong, but it's right around there. This is such an icon and such a huge thing for our coast and our town. There's not that many piers left, and I understand that it was built, for a purpose that no longer exists. I understand that. However, I think that if you were to never have been to Pacifica and come up over the hill from Daly City and turn that corner and see the Pacific Ocean and see the cliffs and the mountains to the sea with the pier, it's as picturesque as anyone could have possibly imagined, with the points and the pier and this neighborhood of Sharp Park that I love so dearly. It's something that sticks in everyone's mind, and it's like we might lose the pier, just like everyone else is losing their pier.
Yeah,
it's a lot of money, but I think this is a good example. Like, we need to figure out a way to come up with a plan for the future that either replaces the pier or
protects
the pier in some way. I don't know. We may
want to jump up and down and jump for joy that you're bringing this up, because I just
love
feel
the pier.
It's
so much. It's gorgeous.
What
it's
a
so
gift!
cool.
What a gift to the community! What a gift to the region! People can come down from San Francisco, and you're on the. I mean, as somebody who just moved here from across the country, the opportunity of the ocean, the energy of the ocean, the power of that. We've got to protect our relationship with that.
Agreed.
So yeah, amen.
That's
Sorry,
a big that's a big one, and it gives people the opportunity to appreciate the ocean without being in the ocean.
It doesn't give you the choice. The amazing thing about the landscape of this area is that you can't decide to ignore it if you're standing next to it. It's more compelling than your phone.
Absolutely. And you can, anyone who steps out on that pier, especially the majority of people who would be out on the pier, like, that's their first time to Pacifica. It may even be their first time to the West Coast. Yeah. It may even be, one of few piers they've ever stood on. Yeah. That's a life-changing experience to be on that pier above the Pacific Ocean, the waves crashing under you on the pillar, watching the whales and all the creatures and the fishermen and the crabbing and the looking back at the coast and our coastal mountains. Yeah. It's like, it's the most incredible thing.
Totally.
For us to even consider losing that, I think is unthinkable. But that's just me. But I think we need to rally.
We need to rally.
Yeah, we need to rally. We need to have something that will save that, icon.
And also, we have to find our way to common ground.
Yeah.
And I just mean that, like, instead of saying don't to anything, let's say, like, what should we do? Like, what can we do right now that's in favor of preservation. Like, how can we think creatively and resiliently about like some fun, amazing, can you imagine if the community came together and like raised money and we community designed a pier that everybody felt like really represented the community. And I mean, it's an amazing opportunity.
Yeah.
It's an amazing opportunity for the community. And like, I'm thinking about that area.
I think that's the next right step. I really do.
It is.
Perfection.
Yeah, man. All right.
No, but you speak to the truth of like raising, preservation, and we just raise awareness. And, that's a whole big reason why I've been, for me, wanting to have a conversation. And that's what I think this podcast is alluding to. We're getting to know each other right here, right on the spot, but also where the synergy is beginning, and the vibe, the Winters vibe, the Sarah vibe, the Nano vibe, all the vibe is, and that's what I wanted to speak to, not to keep going backward, but when you walk into Winters, yes, you have that sheath of like, there's a standard, so to speak, of just, hey, this is our vibe, and I like that. It's cool to me that like everybody is on that. You know what I mean? Because if you're not on it, you're gonna stand out in whatever way. Yeah. But once you get through that layer, I mean, we're talking creativity with the music, and also just wanting to be there just because I want. Remember, I told you I was like, I'm just out for work, and I just gravitated. Yeah. And lo and behold, the day that we talked about this podcast, it was the corn moon. Right. And we were talking about that, and we're like, letting go of things, right? The corn moon. And yesterday was the blood moon. So, just kind of to point to, because we're talking about the sun, the moon, oceans, and how that connects with us. Yeah. I'm starting to subscribe to that. Like I'm being more open to like what is the theory on, because it's kind of activating what do I want to let go? What habits of mine, what...
It's so funny that you said that. So I mean, it's not funny that you said that. It's
she got some
critical.
Doodles over there. What do you got? What's going on?
I was at Winters last night, sitting at the bar waiting for the open mic to start, and
juice is flowing.
That's why I go to Winters. I sit at the bar and I bring my notebook and I drink and write lyrics. And
you drink?
I do. I drink.
Say it isn't so.
But I was just going to share that I was sitting there. I was like, I don't know what we're going to talk about tomorrow. And I started thinking about what I wanted to let go of. And these are like a lot of exes, a lot of my ex.
Damn.
I love that. She took some time to give faces.
And I'm like, okay, if we can't.
We're not writing this down. I need to draw this out
on the podcast tomorrow.
I want to see it in view.
Oh shit, that's great.
But I think that's I was. The only moment is now. The only reality is behind our eyes. The only peace is the peace we create within ourselves. Wow. And like, the best thing we can do is just be at our peaceful, most generative, like most collaborative place and keep engaging there. And so I'm trying to let go of all the stuff that keeps me out of the present moment.
And we're going to talk about the calendar a little bit later because, I know you got some upcoming things. And just to speak to last night, open mic, right? I've noticed that, like, your days are really, like, one in, like, their own thing. You know what I mean? You got a different going thing on Monday, Tuesday. I mean, Tuesday is what I subscribe to. If I'm being honest, like, the open mic, the vibe, the pool table, all that. Just the whole, energy there, the people. But I went there Sunday, and tell me a little bit about that. Like, what did you have going on that Sunday?
Anarchy in the afternoon.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so this is like old school punk rock connections from San Francisco. Gabba Gabba Pizza, wonderful.
Shout out to Gabba Gabba. They
That's a serious pie, man.
He's got a
punk rock pie is what I call it. Like, because they're in the band, they're making the pizza.
Oh,
they book all the bands.
Killer.
Christy
She's so
Creams.
great.
She's a badass.
Oh my God. Yeah. I love watching her.
And they're a couple, a power couple, they're making the pizza, they're making the rock.
I know.
It's pretty amazing.
I went up and I was like, do you have any, you don't have any gluten-free crust. And he was like, we can't. That's too much.
Yeah. Pizza.
Like I got to draw the line at gluten-free crust.
If you go to the flour section at Restaurant Depot, the pizza dough says high gluten. It literally does in big letters.
It's just like that's happening.
Yeah, but they have a reputation, for that whole punk rock scene, and so they have connections with all of those bands, and we've been working together for many years. Christy's first band, Sex Star, played at my spot. Well, it was my first year, if not the second year, when we were really still trying to figure everything out. I think it was 2014.
Wow.
If not, it was my first year, 2013. But anyway, Sex Star was her band, and she is in multiple bands along the way. Here we are, many years later. This is a good COVID story, a positive COVID story. We were, first of all, shut down. Second of all, saved by the U.S. government.
What?
That was a brutal and bizarre twist of things, and I'm a pretty antitrust anything, especially big power, big money, government type guy. And so, here we are trying to figure out if we have to give up the dream that we've been pushing for the better part of a decade. Corinne and I and our two kids, we had to give up, we had 2 leases. We had to give up the one lease because there's zero income.
Yeah.
The overhead is brought all the way down to the bottom, as low as we could possibly get it during COVID. And it was still way more than we could even dream of trying to pay, and just in debt and always gave up our lease on the house, moved into the bar, which is a fucking nightmare. Having to, move into the green room as children and having the children using that space as homeschool. So, it took me like a dozen coats of Kills to cover all the dicks and the vaginas in the green room that were all
I'm not laughing. I'm just saying, like,
of 666, and it goes on. But anyway, so this is a space that we're now having to live in complete fear and an unknown, like awful place. Like, what's that? Heaven and hell? What's the middle
Vortex.
Space?
Oh no.
What's the one where you're waiting? It's terrible. Purgatory. Purgatory is such a terrifying fucking place to be.
Yeah.
In your mind, because you don't know. There's no one that will take responsibility to answer the questions that you need answered as a business owner.
What's that movie with Robin Williams where his wife is in purgatory, I was just talking about, like, it's like
it's a very real and terrifying.
The movie with Alan Brooks. Defending Your Life, which is a very different version of purgatory.
But it just sucks. Yeah. It's an uncomfortable place to be when you don't know the future and you're faced with the end of times. And so that was us. And,
that's all of us right now.
Yeah. It's still kind of, we're still, I don't know if post-COVID is a word we could even use,
Right.
We're still kind of figuring all that out. But anyway, there we are, like, not knowing, the landlord won't make decisions, the government won't make decisions. We don't know what the fuck is happening. We're about to lose our entire livelihood and everything we've ever tried to do in our lives. And all of a sudden, we open up the computer for homeschool and there's a note from the bank, and the government has transferred 6 figures into our bank account.
Why?
Because we asked for it.
Oh, you applied for a
we
small
applied for
business grant?
every single grant, every weird thing that anyone had ever heard of.
Yeah.
We tried and filled out the forms and made the calls and put the things in. And it worked. The government sent us a huge sum of money that was a loan, And so call the lawyer, call the landlord, call the vendors. Let's try and get caught up. Let's try and get legal. Let's try and get this thing moving back.
Loan?
Well, because they're still trying to figure out how much of it we want to pay back. Initially, it was a low-interest loan. Then they were going to, for loan forgiveness, they were going to give it to us.
And then they changed their minds?
Yeah, I mean, that's something we don't even need to...
PPP one? Is that what it was?
PPP was, we never really, we had such low staff. You know, it's such a small house that was like really not that feasible. That one kind of just really failed. It worked for a lot of people, but not for us. Yeah, see, it did work for a number of people, but there were so many programs and so many things happening. It was just a really fucked up, an awful time. But we were saved.
That shut us down.
And you know, sure enough, you know, we got ahead of the thing. We negotiated the lease, so much in fact that the landowner, you know, was upset that it was our idea because she was like a true, like, kind of slumlord, you know, like she wanted us to stay in our place. And we had initiated the negotiations with our lawyer through her lawyer and the whole, you know, the whole thing. She was miffed that we were the ones initiating and taking care of business when no one knew what to do. Right. And so she fought back by, you know, denying our, you know, want to work together to try to figure out what it is we're going to do moving forward. So much, in fact, that she stopped paying her mortgage.
Oh my God.
She tried to blame us, you know, for that. And, it was a strange time. It was a really, really strange time. And I forget the point that I'm trying to make and why we went deep into the COVID. But the COVID miracle, okay, we're going back to Gabba Gabba Pizza. So Gabba Gabba Pizza, we had to have food to be able to sell liquor. And that's after we struggled through all the fucking plexiglass and to-go only and all that bullshit would never worked for us, particular. You know, why go to Winters to get a six-pack when you can go to 7-Eleven? I get it, you know, but we had to have food to sell liquor as part of the new plan.
Right.
Gabba Gabba Pizza was there in the beginning, and they, like, learned how to pop up by, you know, collaborating with us, and we were... you know, onward through the fog together at that point. And this is 2020. And so it ended up being the better part of every week for a whole year that we had pizza with Gabba Gabba Pizza and Christy and Davide. And they just have become family. Like, you know, now it's 5 years in and we only get them for their big events because they have events all over the Bay. But that's the Sunday that they build a couple of times a year, Anarchy in the afternoon. And it's just a wonderful group of talented punk rock musicians that, you know, they may not be punk rock is what it is. It's all about energy and performance. It's not particularly, you know, musicianship or whatever however you want to look at it. It's more of an idea and an energy and a creativity. And if you're into any of those things, you know, punk rock is kind of where it's at. And so they put on a hell of a show. For instance, last weekend was not that strong of a weekend. Friday and Saturday were kind of but Sunday was great. So we had a Sunday that should have been a Friday or a Saturday. We didn't have either one of those. We had Sunday. It was like our savior was Anarchy in the afternoon. We had a decent day to kind of cover the weekend. And
is that your approach generally? That's intriguing, kind of the way you think about business. So you have a nut you need to kind of make every week in terms of people showing up.
Yeah. It's a number that we have to meet, no matter
bodies
what.
in the room or
it's sales, body, and then that's a deep thing too because you know there's a source of you know stress right there because we can have a room full of people. You know, we can have 80 people in the room, and the sales are no better than a slow afternoon. Because no one's drinking.
Right.
So then the band comes and all their friends are there and there's 80 people in the room, which could mean this number, but instead it's a third of that number.
Right.
And it's because no one's drinking. And they're like, well, everyone was here. The place is packed. Yeah, but numbers don't lie. Yeah. No one's drinking.
Have you guys ever done a cover charge?
We have.
Yeah.
But our place is so small.
Yeah.
And we've learned the hard way so many times. We took all our chances. We paid all our dues.
Yeah.
You know, that only really works for huge draw bands.
Right.
For instance, the number one fastest sellout we ever had was for the Mummies of San Francisco. One of the sickest fucking bands there is. Yeah, it's like bizarre garage rock when they cover themselves with wraps like mummies, Egyptian mummies. It's such a sick show. It's so much high energy garage, heavy killer fucking.
When are they coming back? That sounds fun.
You know,
Right.
I asked him for 10 years and I finally got it for my 10-year anniversary.
Oh, yeah?
And it was like, I booked my 10-year anniversary. We made 10 days of 10 years.
Yeah.
And that was a rough 10 days for me. So many, I think it ended up being like 50 bands or something crazy in 10 days or whatever it was. It was a high number, 40 something, whatever. I had already booked the entire 10 days and asked the Mummies, and they kind of didn't really get back to me. And about a month before the party, they said, "Hey, CJ, you still want the Mummies?" What?
Yes!
Fuckers. So I had to call the bands that I had for that night and say, "I'm sorry, but
We got
you've been replaced. You're going to have to play next month." And we put the thing together and sent the tickets out. It sold out in an hour, you know, and it's only, it's a small club. It's funny, a sellout. And we sold 100 pre-sales in 1 hour, but that's the fastest pre-sale we've ever had. And so that just kind of brings back to your question, like cover shows are a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
It's a lot of promotion. It's a lot of planning. It's a lot of follow through. It's double staff, sometimes outsourced staff with security if it's going to be something crazy.
Right.
We did that for Agent Orange, because we didn't know. We did that for JFA.
Right.
Stores like that, big shows like that, Guttermouth, Super Suckers, when we had big bands that play at venues that are 10 times bigger than Winters, because we're only 127 person capacity.
I can't
and that's an old number.
With I'm sorry, I was going down a weird futurist route. Just like there's got to be a technology that can be developed with what we know about AI and the kind of those Amazon stores where you just sort of walk in and then you're buying things. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Like somebody should develop something like that for entry charges at bars.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's nobody's going to not go if it's $3 at the door.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And so if there was some way where everybody kind of who walks through the door is just sort of paying $3 to the venue or something.
Right. Apple Pay. You show up, it's there.
Yeah, I went down a road.
That's a wonderful idea.
This is good because I've went to Winters and I've enjoyed the hell out of myself, and this is like I've been in there several times and was like, I'd pay for this. But then it goes back to what you were saying, CJ, of just protecting what the energy and the vibe that you have. I really think you thought that out and just was like, we're just gonna challenge the community. Hey, we got this for you. Here's you got the tip bucket and all, but if anything else, just know that we're just here to have a good time, and here's your ticket in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sprinkle a little bit more on the price of the drinks, and let's all enjoy ourselves. You know what I mean? And that's what I've come to see, and you know what I mean. Like I said, when I went, I think so. Now, Ian, going back, I worked at I'm out. I worked at Longboard for 6 months, security. Shout out to Lee, man. Lee, he knew I was in town because my kids' grandparents live right here, and then I live down the way on Manor. So I was just going to bars as usual, and lo and behold, I told him I do security, and so I worked there for 6 months, and it was good. And I really was. I wouldn't say anti, but I was like, I don't, you know what I mean? I never heard of Winters, not going over there. Didn't hear anything bad. You kind of had that vibe when you're at one place, you're kind of. So I can say I had that resistance, and then just a random night, we're just like, let's go check it out. And it just, that turned everything for me. You know what I mean? It changed everything for me. And shout out Surf too, because I live over
I
there
love
by
the Surf Lounge.
So there's this triangle
dive.
that
Saw that place
It's
for the
amazing.
first time.
yeah. Don't go there last. If you're gonna do the triangle, like start your night over there because the drinks are heavy. But shout out to the bartenders on all these bars, and just shout out to the fact that it's available. You know what I mean? Like the way you said to work together. Like I should be able to come, and you can come and can grab some stuff. And that's that neighborly community, and you're pushing that.
Yeah.
And that's a hard thing to do in a community where there's conservatism, there's political views, there's everything. There's a mixing pot, right? And yet you have a Monday, you have a Tuesday open mic, you have Friday. Like Fridays and Saturdays is crazy. Like I don't go often, but when I do go, I'm like, it's something different every time within that wheelhouse of your selection.
Yeah.
So and speaking to that, like let's just jump into the music if I dare. So I mean, that's how my relationship with Ian was started through music. Like I asked my girl, like, hey, do you know anybody that records? And my first ever recording was right here in this place. He had his setup right here. I mean, he was 19 years old, right? So music is definitely, like you said earlier, Sarah, it's the center. Like that's where we start and we build our foundation, and we just go from there. Because the free music that I get every time in Winters, I do have this like urge to like, okay, how can we give more? You know what I mean? To these artists, because these artists aren't like, we all have jobs, 9 to 5s, and then come and do the shows. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So let's speak so. What genre of music are you gravitating towards? Because like I said, when you go to Winters any given time, you're going to get anything at any given time. I've heard reggae, rock, rap, everything you could think of out there. So what genre do you favor?
It's tough to say. I've gone through periods where I was into one style of music or another in my life. But I've always been drawn to original music. Maybe it's just because I love music so much that, listening to covers and cover bands and stuff kind of lost its luster a long time ago. I probably went to more shows when I was a teenager than most people will their whole lives, and then I really gained momentum in my 20s, 30s, 40s. So, I've been to so many thousands of shows. And when I was young, just to give you an example, in my 20s, I was more into the jam scene, and I was going to festivals, around the country, and I saw the first Bonnaroo in Tennessee as a San Diego Beach boy. So that's a whole different thing than, I would be interested in now. I'm glad that I did it. I'm glad that I got to experience that. I love that music, especially for the time and the place in my life that I was. But once I got to Winters, I wanted to keep it original. And so these programs to which you're speaking of are an add-on. I had original only for years. I dropped the karaoke program. I dropped the open mic. I dropped all the theme nights my first year. I'm like, nope, that's exactly what we don't do. We don't do any of that. Right. We're going to do anything but that. Right. And so eventually, I had to kind of use, a little more of my business brain and, kind of make compromise, if you can even call it that. But, a residency is what that is. Open mic is a residency every single Tuesday. They have the Tuesday night. And I love Bobby and Liam and the boys. Bobby. Oh, man, these guys are so creative and so cool. Right. And they work so hard, and they have cultivated this scene. Tuesday night is off the fucking hook. Yeah. Bands are being created weekly at my spot on a Tuesday night. And I love that.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking shit about that at all. I'm just saying that kept me from being able to book bands from all over the world on the Tuesday. For example, you know, I'm getting these inquiries through email from bands from everywhere. And I love to be able to match those bands with Bay Area bands and have a random night of music.
Yeah.
I love that. So when you have residency, you're taking away your 7 possibilities.
Yeah.
You know, I've taken away Tuesday, you know, and it doesn't make financial sense to push the open mic boys off a Tuesday to have some random band from Minnesota play.
Right.
You know, like it just doesn't make any sense because they have such an awesome night. I tell bands that. I say, look, I would love to have your band and you're amazing, but that's a Tuesday night and it's sacred. It's open mic. I can't help you.
Well, there's, you know, oh, God. So I love open mic nights.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of open mic nights. And I ran an open mic night for 14 years in New York. And we also, just about the original music, we had a rule. We only did 2 songs a set. And it was a max of 1 one cover song.
Yeah.
So, like, you got a longer set if you were playing original music or
Yeah.
if you combined. But, I mean, I love having the house band. But it is a little bit like a residency.
Yeah.
But an open mic doesn't have to be like a residency, you know? And so I'm really interested in starting some kind of songwriter circle, but there are ways that the open mic could really be more like a night for the community than it is like a night for a band.
Right.
And so it's interesting that you're kind of experiencing it that way, because I think, I don't know, that would be an easy thing to correct.
Yeah.
If you wanted to, and then it might feel more worth it.
No, I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
I've made this compromise, to use
Yeah.
that word again, just because, you know, we need to cover the nut.
Yeah.
And so on a business,
And
it's like that, you know, I don't really care. I mean, Bobby could be playing, you know, 4 hours worth of Sublime, which I just vomited a little in my mouth. You know, like, I don't care because it's giving. It's a giving. It's supporting the business. It's supporting the scene. Yeah. Everyone's there to have a good time. It's a beautiful thing.
It's generative.
It doesn't really matter what I feel about it personally.
Yeah.
You know, it's like this is good for everyone.
Yeah, totally.
And so it's the same as my Monday night. Like, I fought, you know, cover bands for years, as I just described. Yeah. And what is Steal Your Monday? It's all covers. Right. They are all about the Grateful Dead and Grateful Dead adjacent, you know? Yeah. So, like, this is a Monday night of cover bands. Right. And, I mean, it makes me cringe, but you know what?
I got there, too, in my programming, because people are not, right now, there's not a whole lot of risk-taking going on when it comes to going out and having experiences in community.
So you need that familiarity.
Right. People are, I mean, the live scene is competing with Netflix and a lot of other stuff. And so it has to be kind of easy. And people really need community. And there's something about, like, the Dead cover band community, and they're coming not just for the music, they're coming for some sense of commonality and comfort and familiarity. And so I really get what you're saying about throwing up in your mouth, but it's also like you're there because you want to be a home for people to have this kind of experience, and the experience they want to have are these ones at the moment.
Well, I'm glad you described it that way, because that's the thing that really kind of helped me get over myself, so to speak. And so to speak on Monday in the Steal Your Monday program, it's become such a beautiful thing. Yeah. It's its own animal, you know? And, you know, no matter how I feel about it or my preferences or whatever, like, I know all those songs. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I knew them when I was 20. Right. You know? That was 3 decades ago. Yeah. I know all that stuff. But to me, the most important thing about that scene and that night in particular is that the enthusiasm for that music is undeniable.
Yeah.
They will listen to the same 100 songs
It's so true.
every single day for the remainder of their entire lives. And the music is better today somehow than it was yesterday. Tomorrow it'll be even better.
Even better.
And that is beautiful.
It is.
That's unreal to see people and they're so fucking engaged.
Yes.
And they're so enthused and they're so enjoying the moment and the vibe in the room and everyone's having a nice time. It's like, I got over myself such a long time ago when I saw that. I was like, you know what? This is fucking beautiful.
Right.
You know,
If I could just interject here for a second. I made kind of like a tradition for like about a year or so. You might have seen me pop up all the time. And I always bring like a new instrument because I make instruments and samplers and random shit back
you
there.
a few times, man.
Yeah, and so I'll be back there. And I'm definitely guilty of just showing up and hanging there and not drinking, just making a scene in the back. And so I have like hours of recording of like just making music back there and the general vibe and energy. And I wanted to play you one if you put on the headphones real quick.
Yeah.
You can just hear how out of control.
I love this.
How wild the energy is back there. Because sometimes I'm recording just the music, but sometimes I'm just recording the scene and generally the ambiance. And this one is one of my favorite ones. This is kind of hilarious.
Prepare yourselves.
And I work Monday and Tuesday day shift. So like, that's another reason why I'm not around all that much. I've already been at the bar all fucking day since the morning.
Yeah.
So
and I
I'm
usually
not gonna
get
stay
there.
all night long either.
I usually go out late.
Yeah.
This is me bringing a tiny keyboard and everyone starts going crazy.
Loud noises. People are talking shit.
We're playing
No,
three words. Mushroom frisbee. What are the three words? Mushroom frisbee. You haven't rapped what word have you?
Retro mushroom frisbee.
I think you did all of them.
Retro mushroom frisbee.
Retro mushroom
Retro mushroom frisbee.
It's just
He just went his kidney.
It's just chaos that goes off the rails for a long time. And then towards the end of this, 8 minutes of chaos,
God damn it.
some guy goes up like to the little platform in the back and starts doing like a impromptu stand-up comedy set. It was just a vibe out there that night. And I got a lot of recordings like that. It's just fun.
I love it.
If you want to be in a place where everything is available, go to Winters. You know, if you want to get a shot of beer, go to Surf. You know what I mean?
Right.
You want to like maybe pay for a ticket. La Russell. Shout out to Longboard. They do bring some names here.
Yeah,
But
big time.
what like, back to what you were saying, and this speaks to like all of the vibe of Pacifica. You know what I mean? Like obviously my choice is Winters, but like the vibe here is you're on the water, so you're just drawn already. Like if you just, like you said, you're coming down that coast and you're coming into Pacifica and you see the sunset or you see the pier, you're just drawn to it. You know what I mean? And it asks the question of like, what else is there? You know what I mean? Down to the food. I mean, and my mom was a caterer where I grew up, and she was like a starving artist. Like she didn't make a lot of money in her time, but her friends were like, they were in the, you know what I mean? So she rubbed shoulders, and I grew up in that space of just seeing how kind of like the bar/food industry was. So, I mean, I have an idea of how hard and the responsibility it takes, not only the mental strain on yourself to run the business, because there's a business side of it. As much as we all love to have a drink and go listen to some music, we got to keep the lights on. So, and you talked about it, 14 years had your spot in New York, Sarah. So, and how was your show last night? I don't want to like segue too hard, but tell us a little bit about that. How was your set? Because I mean, we want to talk about original. Did you do an original song?
Yeah,
She was there early. I saw her like waiting for the sign up sheet. She was ready because that goes fast.
I had to leave my daughter's volleyball game again. Yeah, I did 4 original songs last night.
Nice.
Look at you.
Yep.
And you're only gonna catch it if you got to go there. You know what I'm saying? Be there. You know what I mean? And that's where that's where I met Sarah. Like it was just a random night.
Yeah.
And she was dressed in all black. I was like, "Who's she? Security? What's going on?" And she's sitting at the bar. She's just quietly, and I think she went up there. So I go, and I was like, "Oh, hey, how you doing?" And introduced myself. And just from right there, we kind of hit it off and just kind of talked. And she told me a little bit, like she was like, just got here. You know what I mean? Like I just moved here.
It was my first West Coast open mic.
Yeah.
Look at it.
Like,
You know what
I
I mean?
need to just
love this.
break the...
And so, for me, I go there and I could write, I could rap, I can do all this stuff. But for me, it's like my job literally is to appreciate the music. So obviously, CJ, you're doing a great job. Keep it up. And what I would say, to kind of piggyback on like the business end of it, what would you tell somebody just jumping into this, like the bar industry scene? Like, what would be your kind of advice?
Do something else.
Well, exactly. No. If you listen to the whole show, he explained to you the COVID and everything, all the obstacles, Hell's Angels. I mean, I'm amazed that. I mean, again, like I said, we kind of have our central space, which is why we had you. I'm glad that our first episode is CJ is here as our guest.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where it all started. You know what I mean? So. Kudos to you and Corinne, the job well done that you guys done. And I've seen, I guess I can say, because being in the industry, I've seen the pain and the struggle of going through it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We want all this for everybody, but we got, you know what I mean? Somebody's got to foot the bill.
Yeah. And we're doing it, and you're doing
Absolutely.
it. And I think, it's an interesting question you're asking, Leo, kind of sort of like, is there a realistic path for people to do this as a career and give back in this way and make a living? And the answer is kinda. I think really it's an act of service in a lot of ways. It's like being a teacher. It's like you do it because it's value and how you want to live.
Yeah.
But that being said, I'm just going to make a little plug for the better future I imagine.
Yes.
Which is where we each find a way to build our lives. We're only one set of resources. Our work is our lives. Yes. What we do in each moment is all we have to offer. Where we put our attention is ultimately where we're contributing. And so, like, business and work have to stop being, it matters if you enjoy what you're doing, and it matters if you make a difference. And so, definitely a lot of gratitude. I love this conversation.
And I second that. So I'll ask both of you guys questions. You guys can go both jump at it. We talked about the corn moon, get rid of bad habits, getting rid of whatever negative energy. That's just what I learned to believe. I did minimal research on what it is. And then there's the blood moon, inviting, So what can we expect on a personal level? What are you inviting into this new kind of a vibe or new, within this year?
Into Winters or into
into personal, on a personal, into your
lives.
own life, because I believe that there's a connection, right? But on a personal level,
it's hard for me to separate, myself and my idea of what I want to see at the bar and the business side of it. It's two very different parts of my brain. Like,
really?
I'm a very creative type, and so I have to disconnect my artist brain so that I can maintain, the entertainment calendar office.
Right.
So, as an example, like I have to make decisions. I have to, leave my creativity kind of I have to pull a little bit away so that I can make sense and I can make business decisions and I can, I can coordinate things without,
That's why I wasn't good at that job.
It's so hard. It's so hard for me, and I get so much shit. And it's like, look, man, artist brain is hard. You gotta, like I think too much of it, and you can get lost in all of those thoughts.
Yeah.
And you can't let that stuff overwhelm you. You just kind of have to make decisions based on how you can continue to live, your idea of what the dream is. Like without the money, you can't realize the dream. And so that's
the next right step.
Yeah.
You have to take the next right step.
Yeah. And so
sometimes that's making the money.
Making the money. And unfortunately, in this scenario, in reality, the almighty dollar is what allows us to continue to remain in business and live our lives in the way that we would like to, to be able to go and afford to eat and have a place to sleep and all of that. So like you have to kind of compromise. And so I think for me moving forward, it's about letting go of, things that have kind of kept me from being successful in the past, where I just put my foot down because that's my idea and you can't tell me otherwise. I need to really kind of see it, and that's a COVID perspective, it's more empathy, it's more understanding, it's more, seeing the other side of things, seeing outside of yourself and appreciating someone else's angle and someone else's struggle. It's like, it's just being more aware and more understanding of the things that are around you and other people's lives. Yeah. And so I think that, COVID has really kind of created, a lot of opportunity for us to make positive and be better and do better. And that's how I'd like to, live my life. That's what I'd like to take out of it and be, on that path.
For sure. Man, thank you for that share. Sarah, you have anything on the matter?
Yes. On what I'm inviting in for the new year. I can sense myself going macro. I'm going to give myself like a 160 second when I answer this question. I'm inviting in my improvisational self. I think I've spent a lot of my life like planning and trying to get somewhere. Like I think a lot of us have, and I think we're socialized too, really. But I'm inviting in the present moment and my ability to really like show up to that and all the, like I've been through a huge transition. You were talking before about like, these moments where everything's up in the air, and I'm kind of in one of those moments right now. And
it's a hard place to be.
It's a hard place to be, and it's fucking an amazing place to be. I mean, there's nothing to be but present. And in actuality, that's all there is. And I personally feel like at this moment in time, we're like at a real crisis moment as a people, as a species, as a planet, so I'm inviting in like my job, the job that I've given myself in this moment of time. I've got a lot of different jobs, is to just be the best human that I can be. And the best human means occupying that with responsibility and ethics and optimism and action for a better future, like as much of the time. And that takes a lot of confidence, and that takes a lot of emotional energy. And so I'm inviting in the energy to inhabit that over the course of the next year.
Amazing. I mean, and just sitting here listening to you guys, I really feel like we've gotten through the finish line of just, you know what I mean?
About what
just
are you,
do
what
it.
are you and what are you
Yeah.
and Ian inviting in for?
So Ian knows. So like 85 to 90% of my catalog in music is in this studio, like saved in his files. You know what I mean? And just I probably put out 2 projects and took seriously, like, you know what I mean? And I've brought a slew of artists and things, you know, things like this, just constantly, you know, I'm a team player, you know what I mean? But as we speak on a personal journey, I'm starting to see more of like, you got to look within, you know what I mean? How I can make my community better is to better myself, right? And as much as I love the whole, you know, like the social space, and when I was, you know, this is a touchy topic, but, you know, I was drinking, you know, and that was a part of any, like, get together. If you go to Winters, you can count on things like that. Like, you know, so Winters was a safe space, so to speak, to where I could kind of hide whatever it was that I was going through. You know what I mean? Now it's like I said, I'll be 90 days sober next week on the 18th. You know what I mean? So
Attaboy.
I appreciate CJ. Like, we just had that random conversation, and this is like, that's how you know it's like serendipitous, because you were just in the back over there by that pool table and just was and as you should, if you're an owner and you're not like racking your brain about like keeping these lights on, then, you know, it's probably not going to survive. And that whole COVID thing you went through, the story of the transition with HAs, like you've got a story there, right? And yet and still it's like we still need to seize today. But we both recognized the moment where you kind of just was like, let me get out of that real quick. You know what I mean? And that awareness right there is where the healing, you know what I mean? That's the process of knowing oneself, of like, hey, I know when I'm overwhelmed, or where I can be overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. So you took the moment, you said, hey, this is somebody I feel, you know what I mean? And so, and we'll keep that what it was. But to say, for me, it's like the commitment. So, you know, it's 11 a.m., and I'm going over to Francisco Boulevard, hit up Pastor Steve. I'm going to my AA meeting right after this. And it's just literally that. Like, we can do a whole podcast, and I got to go to my AA meeting. And whatever. And I appreciate you guys taking your time out of your day, right? You just had to drop your kid off. I'm dropping my kid off at school. Like, there's things to be done. And yet we agreed on it, and we're here. So that's where I'm at, where it's like, things can be done. It's amazing how much can be done when you get out of your own way.
Yes.
And you're just open to saying, hey, like, we can do this, and then the execution part. And I'll pass that to Ian real quick, just to let him just kind of jump in that, because he has witnessed so much of just me not doing it or not finishing. Like, last night we did like this artwork piece. We were over at my buddy Justin's, and then we was like, hey, you want it? Because I told him I've been getting that paintbrush, you know what I mean? He was like, well, come over, we'll do that, you know. And he's a huge advocate of like creation and imagination, and but also just execution, really. Like, it's just do it, you know what I mean? Like, who cares? Like, we'll figure that part out, you know what I mean? Like, we'll figure out the placing of the couch, but you got to show up. And you guys arrived, and you guys are like that. To me, I think selfishly, I want to say that, like, I'm a huge advocate of like random togetherness.
Yeah.
Right? Because then it kind of pushes forward where I am in my life.
Yeah.
I'm everywhere and nowhere, right? But I'm okay because I'm here. Like, as long as I know that I'm continuing to look for myself, then I think we don't need to really like pay attention to the end goal. We just need to know that, like, there's a journey within it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He likes to curate a vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He likes to get people together.
Yeah. So
There's nothing, coming together. That's where it's at.
I won't dive deep into that question. I'll save it for subsequent episodes, just to keep it concise here.
for sure.
No.
And I mean, so We're here. We got time, but I really think that like I kind of that's a good conversation we had. You know what I mean? We've covered the discovery of Winters, the discovery of how it all came about, and I really want to say I really do appreciate you coming and taking your time. I believe we'll have more conversation like this. And
Yeah. Can I I have a wrap up idea.
Yeah.
So let's see. I've worked with a lot of people, whatever. I always like at the end of a conversation to bring out sort of like an action step or a takeaway. It might be a little cheesy, but like a thought just offered itself to me, which is that we could all decide right here what the next right step that the four of us in this room are going to take toward maybe like the Pacifica rally or something. Like is there one thing we want to say is a next step for us, this group in this room?
Well, I would say for this, if we're specifically on this kind of group in the podcast, and I would just say the next episode. You know what I mean? Let's just let's do the same, but obviously we all know how to like organize and put something together. We all can put our 2 cents.
Yeah.
My thing here is just that we all arrive. You know what I mean? And we show up.
We'll
and
show up to this
CJ,
again
you're a guest, but you know what I'm saying? It's home base, you know what I mean? Like we are really honored that you know what I'm saying, you took your time. And Sarah, the same, like we didn't spend too much time of saying if we wanted to do, we just like, we didn't care how, she was like, I'm in, and we shook hands. And that's where I'm at with it. But now, to speak to Ian's, it's just like now, we have the resources.
Yeah.
Right? And this is about as comfortable as you get. I don't know how far the drive was. It was like 2 minutes.
I'll say one other thing. Are we trying to wrap up?
We're not. We're not trying to. I just,
Okay.
you know what I mean.
We're ready.
Like an hour and a half on that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, I'll just say part of the reason I love what you said, Leo, about just getting up and doing and showing up and everything. And I think, and like the random togetherness, like the collaborations don't happen unless you collaborate. Like they don't happen unless you show up. And one of the other things I think that gets in people's way is kind of, I think of it like consent. It's sort of like, what are you agreeing to step into with this person? And also like, what are you giving up? Like if we create this podcast together,
Right.
Like, is it going to go somewhere I don't want it to go, or is it going to go without me? And so, like, I love that we all showed up to this, and we're just, I just like to say, like, okay, yeah, I committed to do this. I love it, and I'm committed to coming back.
For sure, because what I do know is obviously ideas are going to continue to keep coming. I mean, if we're able to do this, you know what I mean, and we have the resources, and we have things to talk about. Right, we have endless conversation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially when it's in a place where you feel comfortable. It's like nobody wants to walk in an uncomfortable room.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? However, that's the work that I've been doing on my own. Like I've already have been in uncomfortable situations and places, and had to deal with the uncomfortableness.
Yeah.
So now I'm very comfortable to like speak on topics and community-based, building our communities. We're talking about the peer, the awareness. I mean, this conversation literally can birth, a rally, a campaign to say, hey, let's do this, right? Because I CJ, you of all people, I mean, we're all residents here, right? So that what's good for the goose, good for the gander, right? So that peer or the people, right? That's the main, like, what it's all about. You know what I mean? And also, in our A, you have to be selfish, right? Like you had this idea to have this bar, to have this is all self-inflicted, essentially, because it comes back to you, right? But who gets the shit when it goes to shit, right? CJ, Corinne, you guys are getting like, well, they didn't do this right. There's so many people that can judge and say this and that. So you putting yourselves out there already, you're vulnerable. And before I forget, just kind of, we're going to go around the house, but, you're our guest of honor. give us some tags, some where we can find you, what's coming up next, what to expect, and I looked on your IG page and your September is loaded.
Yeah.
September is loaded. So let us know about some upcoming events.
Yeah. Well, first of all, kudos to all of us for being here.
Yeah.
And Ian, I appreciate you putting this together sound-wise, and Nano, thanks for the invite. I'm honored. Sarah, thanks for everything. This has been really interesting.
Good conversation.
And I think that, if I'm going to take away, maybe we should start working on the Save the Pier Music Festival on the promenade.
Let's go. You guys heard it here first on the right. The next
I
right
can just see
step.
it, that huge dirt pile, by the flagpole. We could do some shit.
I'm in. I'm in.
We'd have to get the city involved, obviously, but it is
We can do
definitely
it.
something we could try to work on.
Cool.
So that's fun. But yeah,
Cool.
the bar has its own website, winterstavern.com. We are on Meta Universe. IG is at No Crap on Tap.
Yes.
I'm really lucky to have stolen that one. That's been a saying in industry
That is another lovely thing.
for a long time. I saw it in the East and the Midwest in the 80s. No Crap on Tap was the thing, but no one was using it in the Bay. And so I swooped it up in 2013, and that's been my tagline since then. And somehow it was available on Instagram. So I've got No Crap on Tap, and that's Winters Tavern,
Nice.
which connects to Winters Tavern on Facebook, which, obviously more and more people are moving away from, but it still helps, the public see the events and the public become aware of, what they can partake and how and when and all of that. So it's exciting, that we have that venue, that there's this free social media platform that allows everyone to know what's happening. And it's amazing what it's done for me because, as I said, booking bands from all over the world. So, I don't think that the old school method of landlines and phone calls would be quite as effective because I was new to the Bay in 2012 and I was new to the scene in the Bay, and having to regroup or re-energize an existing venue was a huge task. And so the internet and social media really helped me to get response and to get contact information that would have been a bear otherwise. I'm very lucky that I've been in this industry my whole life, and I worked at some really key and important independent music venues in San Diego that got me in contact with the Bay Area. So, this whole community is really special to me. And I invite anyone to come and check out, a show at Winters, or just come in and have a drink and enjoy yourself in a safe space. We are going to be celebrating 80 years in business next year.
Wow.
2026 will be 80 years. They physically moved the building onto the property in 1945.
Wow.
They opened Winters in 1946. So next year is the 80th, and we're trying to figure out what part of the year we're going to celebrate that.
Sure.
So we got a lot
some
of planning
things coming
a
up,
lot
man.
of planning to do.
Yeah.
We have our 13th. We got Lucky 13. So I'm probably going to steal the or tribute is a better word. The Lucky 13 bar that no longer exists in San Francisco. I'll probably just use that logo for my 13th anniversary at Winters Tavern for
He's
that
got a few
festival.
ideas.
I got ideas. Yeah.
Okay.
And I've been tributing lost bars in Pacifica since I got here. There's many bars that no longer exist post-COVID.
Yeah.
So we were just talking about, all the places that we're missing. We've lost a lot of cool spots. Cheers was a cool community hub, and it was the other side of town, and it kind of held our town together. You go from Cheers to the Surf Lounge, and that's end to end Pacifica.
Yeah.
Where was Cheers?
It was in the Safeway, Lindemar shopping mall there.
Yeah.
It was a cool little, typical dive, old school bar.
Missed it completely.
It was way cool. Yeah, it was gritty and salty and interesting and weird, and it would blow up on holidays. Like it was like family reunion time, like Thanksgiving, Christmas. There was like 200 people in there. It was just madness. And they had their fair share of live music. They did some stuff.
Shut down in COVID?
Yeah, it was another COVID loss. But to continue on that, I have Dial Glass. I'm gonna shout out to Dial Glass, a local glass company. Wonderful. The Yo's family have been good to me since day one. They replaced all the windows that were broken at Winters on stage when I first got here in 2013. They were quick to move when we figured out that Cheers was closing. Cheers had these incredible 80s style etched glass. Remember when etched glass was a thing?
Yes.
And it's like the powdery white. And they offset that was like etched glass art was a big thing. It's kind of a lost art.
Yeah.
Anyway, I have those doors.
Nice.
So the glass, I have those panels that were in the door. So I think it's like 2.5 feet by 4 feet.
Yeah.
I'm going to make a box and put it up in the bar at some point. But I have that glass. We replaced Dial Glass, replaced the glass on the quick before the landlord knew any better with actually better glass. I just got the artsy glass.
You could do so much cool stuff.
Yeah. I can backlight box. So I also have signage from the old Seahorse. I have up in the bar already, I have a jacket from the Arizona, which was a crazy little bar that's now the corner store straight down from the bar.
Oh.
On Palmetto.
Yeah.
That was a bar back in the day. It was like old school. So what else do I have? The Rose Room. The Rose Room was like the rough and tumble bar in Lindemar, which is where, what is it now? Humble Sea. It's now Humble Sea. Double Slide Tap Room. That was an old school bar called the Rose Room. And I have the old bumper sticker that I made, Meet Me at the Rose Room. And I have one of the velvet nudes that was in the bar before it burned down.
Wow.
And so I have some old cool, like, service industry, history type stuff in the bar. And if anyone's listening and has anything cool along those lines that belongs on display, we have the Museum of Watering Holes working. That's a project in the works at Winters Tavern.
I'd love to hook you up with some art at some point. You can see I made all the stuff around the room. Like I do a lot of stuff with records. Like those up there and all the ones on the wall.
I was checking it all out, man. I really dig it.
Yeah,
we definitely.
I told you it's a vibe over here, man.
I love it. This is a great room.
Yeah, it is.
So, really quick before we wrap up, Sarah, do you have any closing thoughts or?
I think I've shared more than enough.
Yeah, or tell them where to find you if you have a social media or something.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully, you'll make one for the podcast.
I have an Instagram that I am just starting to use called it's at Portraits of Self-Care. And that's about it. You can find me on LinkedIn.
Very straightforward. Sarah's very straightforward.
No, that's actually not true. I am here on behalf of the nonprofit that I run, actually, which is called the Sarah Silbert Charitable Trust. And it's a very small family foundation that my grandfather established.
Wow.
And that was the nonprofit that operated the music venue that I ran
Oh, cool.
in New York. And it was not just a music venue. It was actually, we called it an incubator for people to build lives that they're passionate about. So my background is education and personal development. And so I ran a small business incubator for women in career transitions there. And we did workshops for, accidental entrepreneurs, for people who are just sort of like trying to make a living being themselves in the world, which is all of us right now, essentially. So, and anyway, so my arrival in Pacifica is actually the launch of the Trust's next project, which is trying to support regenerative, we create hubs of kind of regenerative culture and regenerative community. And so I'm here because I want to invest in Pacifica, actually, and like find ways to help support the community come together. And I'm also, like to create experiences like I think we spend most of our lives not being in that center place of ourselves that we just talked about getting. And that a lot of that is because when you're not in touch with yourself, it's very hard to get in touch with yourself. Yeah. When you're in touch with yourself, it's easier, it's still hard to stay in touch with yourself. And I think we have to create these spaces where people find that part of themselves that's the generative, happy, relaxed. It's the most important thing we can do. So I launched a movement in my own life around that a few years ago called Tickled. I call that feeling of being in touch with yourself tickled, because when you can laugh spontaneously and just find something delightful, you're safe. You're in a safe space and you're being generative and you're connected to the people around you. And that's like the most human thing we can be. And the way to stay sane in a world of AI is to stay in touch with that. And so I'm just all about creating environments and experiences and conversations and places where people can reconnect to that.
Absolutely.
Here, here.
And so the website's under construction, but it's tickled.world.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tickled.world. And, you heard it here first, man. We're starting conversation. Thank you guys all for showing up and being here.
You plug your socials, Nano?
Yeah, so if you want to get in contact with me, I already have an invoice ready for everybody. Like, my time is expensive, guys. No, seriously, you can hit me up. I'm obviously gonna need to be more present on my social media, but hit me up NM_lifestyle. That's, acronym for nonstop management, which is, we'll dive into that more. Like, I'm in the industry of security, and that in itself enables me to be around like music and events and things of my choosing. So I love that. And also, we'll have our YouTube up here. It's going to be the next right step, YouTube. So, you're going to see the first episode on our YouTube, and then we'll have all our social media where you can find us in the description. If you like this episode, like and subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. Smash that subscribe button. But thank you all for coming, Sarah, CJ. Thank you again for being here. I'm
honored to be here.
That time. Shout out to Ian McKee, our engineer and our production manager. If you want to go ahead and plug yourself, show them where we can find you.
Yeah, I haven't used social media in like 3 years.
Yeah.
It's IANMCKEE Music. That's how you spell my name, Ian McKee Music on Instagram. And my email's ianmckeemgmt@gmail. You can probably catch me there.
Absolutely, man. So,
and hit me up for anyone who wants to record music or make a podcast or
absolutely
get some mixing or something like that.
He's a man of many talents, many skills. So that's a wrap for our first episode, The Next Right Step, with Sarah and Nano and our special guest, CJ. I really appreciate you coming in. Until next time.
Yeah, man.
And obviously, go hit up Winters. You know what I mean? Go see what it's like. Well, what's the hype about on any given day? Check the calendar. Definitely, this month is going to be super, super busy. You got a lot going on. I don't even want to talk about what the next episode. We're going to talk the Fog Fest. All that stuff is coming up, but you're going to get all that information here. And also, like I said, check his website. Check out what's going on with Sarah, and we'll get to you. All right. I'll do a different outro. I don't know that. I don't have an outro. Sorry.
That's it.
All right.